Welcome back to Movies on the Brain. I'm Jason, and today we're diving deep into the delightfully twisted world of Tim Burton's 1988 classic Beetlejuice. Prepare yourself for a spoiler-filled review of this iconic film that brings the bizarre and the macabre to life in the most entertaining way possible. Starring the incomparable Michael Keaton as the mischievous and manic Beetlejuice, alongside Winona Ryder, Alec Baldwin, and Gina Davis. This film takes us on a wild ride through the afterlife. So if you're ready for a mix of dark humor, quirky characters, and a whole lot of strange, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. How did Beetlejuice do in the box office? Well, Beetlejuice made its way into theaters on March 30th, 1988, with a budget of $15 million. In its 12-week theatrical run, it earned $73.7 million. It was number one in the box office for the first 4 weeks of its run, beating out the likes of Bright Lights, Big City, Bad Dreams, and Return to Snowy River. Its final week of its theatrical release saw it leave the box office at number 12 and being shown in 1,161 theaters worldwide. Now let's take a look at the cast and some of their other roles. We have Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton has also been Aaron Toomes / Vulture in Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies, Monarch in Need for Speed, and Ken in Toy Story 3. Alec Baldwin as Adam Maitland. Alec Baldwin has also been Captain George Ellerby in The Departed, Lieutenant Colonel James Doolittle in Pearl Harbor, and Joshua Rush in the TV show Knots Landing. Gina Davis as Barbara Maitland. Gina Davis has also been Miss Eleanor Little in the Stuart Little franchise, Dr. Nicole Herman in the TV show Grey's Anatomy, and President Mackenzie Allen in the TV show Commander in Chief. Jeffrey Jones as Charles Dietz. Jeffrey Jones has also been Uncle Crenshaw Little in Stuart Little, Eric Marzoon in The Devil's Advocate, and Dr. Skip Tyler in The Hunt for Red October. Catherine O'Hara as Delia Dietz. Catherine O'Hara has also been Tina in Chicken Little, Calamity Jane in Tall Tale, and Kate McAllister in Home Alone 1 and 2. Winona Ryder as Lydia Dietz. Winona Ryder has also been Kim Boggs in Edward Scissorhands, Elsa Van Helsing in Frankenweenie, and Joyce Byers in the TV show Stranger Things. Sylvia Sidney as Juno. Before Sylvia Sidney's death in July of 1999, some of her other roles were Grandma Florence Norris in Mars Attacks, Iris Hilliard in Blood on the Sun, and Clea in the TV show Fantasy Island, which was her final appearance. Robert Goulet as Maxie Dean. Prior to Robert Goulet's death in October of 2007, he had also been David Marsh in the TV show Blue Light, the Devil in G-Men from Hell, and Quentin Habsburg in the Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear. David Cavett as Bernard. David Cavett has also played himself in Apollo 13, Forrest Gump, and A Nightmare on Elm Street 3. Glenn Shaddix as Otho. Before Glenn Shaddix's passing in October of 2010, he had also been the mayor of Halloween Town in The Night Before Christmas, Mr. Fallows in Sleepwalkers, and Associate Bob in Demolition Man. Annie McEnroe as Jane Butterfield. Annie McEnroe has also been Muffy Livingston in Wall Street, sorry, Mrs. Highsmith in The Hebrew Hammer, and Doreen in The Survivors. Marie Cheatham as Sarah Dean. Marie Cheatham has also been Mary Horton in the TV show Days of Our Lives, Charlene Simpson in the TV show General Hospital, and Dorothy Watson in Soul Man. Carmen Philby as Messenger. Carmen Philby has also been Reverend Jackson Sayer in Halloween 4, Return of Michael Myers, Frank in the Beverly Hillbillies movie, and Hobo Jack in Pee-wee's Big Adventure prior to his passing in May of 2003. Tony Cox as the preacher. And Tony Cox has also been Marcus Skidmore in Bad Santa, Mr. Parker in Fridays, and Whittle Willie Warwick in Star Wars Return of the Jedi. Jack Angel as the voice of the preacher. Before passing in 2021, Jack Angel had also been Ramjet in the Transformers the movie, the Toon Shoes in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Superintendent Chaplin in the TV show Hey Arnold. Susan Kellerman is great. Susan Kellerman has also been Joyce Rensselaer in The Devil's Advocate, Marge Hawks in The Family, and Nava Hannibal in Just One Time. Adele Lutz as Beryl. Adele Lutz has also been Dr. Hemsley in Checking Out, Janet in Wall Street, and Makiko in Until the End of the World. And we finally have Patrice Martinez as Miss Argentina. Before her passing in 2018, Patrice Martinez was also Carmen in Three Amigos, Victoria Escalante in the TV show Zorro, and Maria in Convoy. Now let's take a look at the plot. In Winter River, Connecticut, married couple Barbara and Adam Maitland decide to spend their vacation decorating their idyllic country home. As they are driving home from a trip to town, Barbara swears to avoid a dog, and the car plunges into the river. After returning home, she and Adam notice they now lack reflections. When Adam attempts to leave the house, he ends up in a strange and otherworldly desert-like landscape populated by enormous sandworms. The encounter only lasts a few seconds for him, but after Barbara rescues him, she says he was gone for 2 hours. They then find a handbook for the recently deceased, which leads them to realize they drowned in the river and have become ghosts. The house is sold, and the owners, the Dietz family, arrive from New York City. Charles Dietz, a former real estate developer, his second wife Delia is a sculptor and conceptual artist, and his teenage goth daughter Lydia from his first marriage is an aspiring photographer. Under the guidance of interior designer Otho, the family transforms the house into a new wave work of postmodern art. Consulting the handbook, the Maitlands travel to an otherworldly waiting room populated by other distressed souls, where they discover the afterlife is structured according to a complex bureaucracy involving vouchers and caseworkers. The Maitlands' caseworker, Juno, tells them that they must remain in the house for the next 125 years on pain of a dire fate. If they want the Deetons out of the house, it's up to the Maitlands to scare them away. Adam and Barbara are invisible to Charles and Delia, but Lydia is able to see them. She attributes her paranormal intuition to her strange and unusual nature. Against Juno's advice, the Maitlands contact the miscreant Beetlejuice, Juno's former assistant and a now freelance bioexorcist, to scare the Deetzes away. Beetlejuice quickly offends the Maitlands with his crude and morbid demeanor. They reconsider hiring him, but they are too late to stop him from wreaking havoc on the Deetzes. The small town's charm and the supernatural events inspire Charles to pitch his boss, Maxie Dean, on transforming the town into a tourist hotspot. But Maxie wants proofs of the ghost. Using the handbook for the recently deceased, Otho conducts what he thinks is a seance and summons Adam and Barbara using their wedding clothes, but they begin to age and decay just as Otho unwillingly performed an exorcism instead. Horrified, Lydia summons Beetlejuice for help, but he will only help her if she marries him. Marrying a human would enable Beetlejuice to freely cause chaos in the modern world. In the mortal, Beetlejuice saves the Maitlands, disposes of Maxie's wife, in a high striker game, and Otho by changing his clothes to a laser suit outfit, then prepares a wedding before a ghastly minister. The Maitlands interfere before the ceremony is completed, and Barbara rides a sandworm through the house, which devours Beetlejuice. The Dietzes and the Maitlands agree to live in harmony within the house. Barbara and Adam form a stronger bond with Lydia, and she persuades them to occasionally unleash their ghostly powers, including spirit possession. Beetlejuice is stuck in the afterlife waiting room. He steals a number ticket from a witch doctor who shrinks his head in return. Now, my thoughts. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, chef's kiss. It was a phenomenal casting choice. This movie is labeled as a horror comedy, and while I don't really see the horror in it, I understand why others would. And you can tell this movie still holds up even, what, 36 years later? And it's such a fun cast. You can tell Michael Keaton was having a blast playing Beetlejuice, and which leads into some fun facts and trivia. Because that first fun fact is exactly that this is Michael Keaton's favorite film of his own. The studio originally wanted to call the film House Ghosts. As a joke, Tim Burton suggested the name Scared Sheetless and was horrified when the studio actually considered using it. Director Tim Burton feared the Deo sequence wouldn't go over well since, in his opinion, it wasn't very funny. Tim Burton turned out to be wrong. Audiences loved it and think of it as one of the film's most iconic scenes. The film was the first DVD sent out by Netflix in 1998. Michael Keaton ad-libbed 90% of his lines. Michael Keaton, playing the title character, only appears for 14 and a half minutes of the film. When Glenn Shaddock's oath died in September 2010, the last song performed at his memorial service was Deo, the Banana Boat song, which was used in the dinner party scene. The visual effects budget was just $1 million, a major factor in Tim Burton deciding to make the effects look as tacky and B-movie as possible. All the people in the waiting room and in the office are in the same condition as when they died, and the way they died is shown clearly. However, the Maitlands who drowned are not wet. Tim Burton felt that keeping the actors wet all the time would be too uncomfortable. Michael Keaton came up with much of the character's look himself. Keaton told the makeup department he wanted a mold of his face and his hair looking as if he stuck his finger in an electric socket. And he requested that the wardrobe department send him clothes from all different time periods. According to Tim Burton, it took a long time to convince cast members to join as they thought the script was too weird. Gina Davis was the only cast member who would commit to the project at first. Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara, and Sylvia Sidney all said no at least once. Producer David Geffen convinced Michael Keaton's manager to convince Michael Keaton to meet with Burton. Once Keaton said yes, Burton personally called Sidney and begged her to do the movie, and he flew out to meet with O'Hara to convince her. The idea of the movie came after Poltergeist was a hit movie, but the idea of Bad Ghost was flipped. The people who moved into the house would be the awful ones. Along with Spaceballs, Big, Caddyshack 2. It is notable for containing the F word in a film rated PG in the new PG-13 era. In the scene where Adam and Barbara transform, the clay sculptures took 1 week to create. Due to the film's medium budget, most of the practical and visual effects were done in camera. The sandworms in the space scene were achieved in post-production. Candy, John Goodman, Wayne Knight, and Bob Haskins were considered for the role of Otho. Wes Craven was the first choice to direct. Alec Baldwin dislikes the film and was very unhappy with his performance. The total time the Maitlands are alive, not counting the opening credits, is 5 minutes 35 seconds. Linda Blair was briefly considered for the role of Barbara Maitland. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the bizarre and brilliant world of Beetlejuice. Thanks for tuning in to Movies on the Brain. If you enjoyed this spoiler-filled review, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more reviews and discussions of all your favorite films. Got thoughts on Tim Burton's Twisted Classic? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to stay tuned because when the sequel Beetlejuice drops and hits theaters, I'll be right here with another review. Until next time, I'm Jason, reminding you to stay spooky and keep your brain buzzing with movies. See you in the next video.